when the terminal got shut down or the application was refused over in Western Port Bay. And that was a really long campaign, again, that was led by people like you, a community advocacy campaign. And you all signed a massive petition. There was well over 40,000 signatures that I was happy to deliver in person to Richard Wynne, the Planning Minister. And I know that that had a tremendous effect on what that decision was for him to not issue that licence for Western Port Bay. And as I say, I thought then it was all over and done with, and we all probably thought the same thing. And now we see there's another application for a terminal here, and the same issues arise. There's the worry of the loss of native habitat for every animal that lives in that water around here. And we've seen what happens when environment is second to business in this area with the Shell terminal. How many times do we hear about a leak? How many times do we hear about an accidental discharge? How many times over the years? I've been living in Torquay for 32 years and I've lost count of how many times. And there's always an investigation, but nothing ever happens. This is a great opportunity for this community to do exactly the same thing as what happened in Western Port, because the same things are a problem. What if a fire occurs? The fire mitigation chemicals are detrimental to the environment, and they kill off the seabed, and they kill off all the animals. And then there's the worry about all those chemicals floating around in the water here. This community has been here a long time, and it sprung up as an industrial community, but that's changing. With people moving out of Melbourne and wanting to live in this area, the North Shore, Corio, Nor Lane have gone through a dramatic change. People want to live in this area now. They're seeing the shutdown of all these industries. Housing's popping up. Families are growing. Schools are being built. This is no longer a safe space for industry to operate the way that it used to in this area. It's not a place for a gas terminal, and it needs to be stopped, and Richard Wynne and the government need to listen to you. And I pledge to you that if you can get a petition together, I'll circulate that, I'll keep that going, and when it's ready, I'll take that to Richard Wynne directly as well, and I'll plead the case. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Andy. Can always rely on you to support every progressive cause in this town, so thanks for coming down here. Our final speaker today is our only local councillor that showed up today. And I shouldn't say only because we're so glad to have you here, Belinda, but you know, it would have been great if the whole local council had come down. But Belinda Maloney is one of our local councillors in the city of Greater Geelong, and she's here to talk a bit about what local council's up to. Thanks, Belinda.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Whoa, cutting in and out. That's all good. Oh, I've got 2 mics, have I?
I'll hold this one.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much for coming out. Every piece of support, every hour, every email, every time you speak out and raise your voice at this, people are hearing. On council, I'm trying to ruffle a few feathers, and I am, as you know, I'm very environmentally focused, but some of the land that this proposed terminal is going to be built on will be council land. And aside from that, as Andy has mentioned, hi Andy, kill the bill. Sorry, I had to say that, but really good to see you and thanks for your support. Please do realise that Richard Wynne is also an influential person. Email us, email them, email Andy, email everyone with your support, and then we can reverberate and say, I've got 800 emails saying don't do this, don't build this. I've been investigating a little bit about history with Axis, and I realise they're more clumsy than I am. I never thought that was possible, but they recently had a spill, and the kind of toluene, ethylene, the type of things that are being spilt at these emissions into the water are toxic to fish, to seagrass and water ecology in general, but also to the residents, and we've heard some concerns today. Please continue to fight the good fight, annoy politicians. I know I am one, but I really appreciate the emails so I can reverberate your voice where it counts. And also, if things get too bad, we can always chain ourselves up to a gate, I suppose. But look, thank you for support, and thank you, Sarah, for always being at these events and really shining a light. And thanks, everyone. Cheers. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks, Belinda. Thanks again, Andy. Great to have both of you here. So just to echo what they've said, if you haven't already, please email your local councillors, particularly Kylie and Anthony. I nearly had a blank. They're our local ones out this way, so please email them. Richard Miles, Andy, we know you're supportive. Just email everyone you can. Just a last final plug, if you're really keen to get involved, we will be back out next Saturday, the 13th of November, with a campaign stall at 11 a.m. at Rippleside Park. Come and find us. We'll have this lovely marquee. Or if you want to come to Beckley Market, we'll be there from 10 a.m. Thanks, everyone. And just encourage you to please take your rubbish off-site with you. We'll keep the park beautiful for the locals. Thank you. I feel like I need to lift weights till I...
So as you just heard, this is for the new no gas terminal in Corio Bay. There was a bit more people here, around about 120, but unfortunately some of them had to go. It was a surprise that Andy Meddick has come today. He wasn't scheduled on, but he's here. So we're just going to hang tight for a minute. We've just got one of the residents that wants to have a discussion about this and basically say what he's got a map with him as well, so he can just I'm just going to go up to him now. We're just going to borrow one of the residents here that has brought this up to our attention. He's going to explain to us the impact. This is just got a text message. This is in North Shore Beach, so not far from Corio Bay. Again, this is for the protest and the awareness for no gas terminals in Corio Bay. This individual works in the industry of have to wait. He works in the industry working with these type of gases and what sort of impact this can play potentially if something goes wrong.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, perfect. I don't know.
Sorry guys, this is taking more time than what I thought. Andy Meddick's just talking to one of the residents about this no gas terminal campaign, and so yeah, just waiting.
Absolutely.
Can I get you to hold the mic? Can I get you to hold the mic?
Great to meet you, sure can. Let's do that.
Who are you talking to?
How are you?
Good, I'm a resident here, Andy.
Lydia sent me some stuff through, I
This is
think, that
Garth.
you've taken.
I've seen
Okay.
the video.
Yeah.
Oh,
The video
okay.
we did before.
Oh, really?
Not the one where the other guy,
wow.
where Mick was talking to me and get me to talk to you, but when you initially explained it, I've sent that through to
okay.
Andy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm happy to spend 2 minutes and explain some consequences of an LNG incident to you, Andy, if you like, using this chart.
Him and I are dead, by
Yeah.
the way.
Familiar with
Oh, so
that?
I'm not deaf completely. I don't
No,
remember
dead,
hearing
dead.
it. Oh,
We're
right.
dead in this.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
In the
So-
worst case scenario, we're dead.
Andy, what we've got here is a chart, and what this chart reflects is what's known as the Sandia hazard zones around LNG tankers. Okay. In direct response to the September 11 incidents, the US government, through the Department of Energy, engaged an organisation known as Sandia National Laboratories. And what they engaged Sandia to look into, what are the consequences should there be an attack or a large incident on an LNG tanker. And so in 2004, Sandia published their initial findings. Okay, the findings basically resulted in these hazard zones being described.
Okay.
In response to that, there was lots of questions and challenges from the industry that said your results are too conservative, they do not reflect the latest safety standards, they do not reflect the latest ship standards that the ships are built to, with double hulls and membrane tankers, etc. So between 2008 and 2011, Sandia National Laboratories, again in New Mexico at a purpose-built facility, a large pool of water, LNG, they spilled LNG to water and set it alight. And they verified all of their original findings, and even with the latest safety standards, shipping tanker technologies, the results stood. And so in 2012, 2013, the recommendation went to the US Congress. The president of the US Congress at the time was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Joseph Biden. You may know of him.
Yes.
And effectively, these recommendations have been adopted into all regulatory approvals for LNG facilities in the USA. And really what these zones define, this red zone, centred around this blue line. So this blue line is the shipping that LNG tankers will pass if the Viva LNG terminal goes ahead.
Yep.
Okay. The red line reflects a heat radiation from an incident on that LNG tanker with a heat equivalent that will cause steel structures to fail. What then happens is that
So where it sits around here, so let's say that the tanker's parked here.
Yeah.
So I take it the outside around here is the perimeter of the zone where that particular thing finishes.
So, yeah, the zone basically says that's the point at which steel structures are failed. Instant fatality to people, right? You don't stand a chance.
No.
At around about 12, that's when the vegetation automatically catches on fire, and it's not until a distance of 3.5 kilometres that you can consider to be safe around an LNG tanker. So you got these varying degrees of safety. At this orange line, you will receive around about 5 kilowatts per metre squared of thermal heat flux. And at that point, you'll receive second-degree burns within 30 seconds of exposure to that flame. So, anything downwind, we had an incident here at North Shore, just off North Shore in the channel, which we can see here less than 500 metres away. That first 500 metre, it's catastrophic. It really is. You don't stand a chance. I wouldn't be here to talk to you the next day.
No.
Put it that way. And then, depending on the prevailing weather conditions, certain people within this zone, as you pan out, wouldn't be here to talk to you the next day, and you would get escalating fires and incidents. And so, this is not opinion, it's scientifically demonstrated.
When they did the experiment,
Yep.
did they have the industry reps there to see it?
Absolutely.
And
It's
what
all
was their
publicly
reaction
available.
when they saw that?
Well, it has to be accepted because it's been proven.
Yeah.
And even after the initial challenge from the 2004 preliminary works, they've come back out and it's basically then gone to US Congress as been accepted. So they basically spilled LNG onto water, set it alight, and measured the thermal radiation as distances. So that's what this chart reflects. The other major finding from this work was that when you put large quantities of LNG and release them onto water, you get a vapour cloud. So if you can picture liquid nitrogen spilling onto water and that dense cloud, you get the same with LNG.
Yeah.
And so this study determined that up to 2.5 kilometres away from the accident zone, you would get this vapour cloud until it reaches what's called its lower flammability limit.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
I've worked in confined spaces.
You
I've got
got
a
it.
level 2 confined space. I've worked on, I've worked in petrochem,
Yeah.
and I know all about the dispersion of flammable gases.
So this
that don't even necessarily, you can't smell.
it's an asphyxiant.
Yeah.
So the vapour cloud that would be released from air has a negative buoyancy, means it's heavier than air. So initially, while it's cold, it's around 1.6 times heavier than air. So it spreads horizontally much quicker than it spreads vertically. And so the safe distances for it to get to LFL is 2.45 kilometres from the spill site. And as you can see in here, 2.45 kilometres, you could have flammable vapour cloud right through this zone. Within these zones, there's more than 30,000 Geelong residents.
And the lower temperature rate would typically occur at night. So if you have a spillage at night with that vapour cloud, and it's only going to take one ignition source, and then you've got a massive fire and a massive explosion in a given area.
So first impact will be spill from the tanker, formation of ice, liquid pool 300 metres in diameter. You would get a vapour cloud, assuming it doesn't ignite prior to reaching 2.5 kilometres. Then you would have that potential asphyxiation zone.
Yep.
Okay. And then should it find a source of ignition, you would get a flame and ignition of that pool fire. That pool fire would burn for around about 22 minutes with heat of such intensity that you will melt steel structures and kill people anywhere in its proximity.
Lydia, is this in what you sent through to me?
It is. I was just going to ask though.
Can I have this sent to me?
Absolutely.
If I can, look, I'm not saying I can, right, but I do have a really good relationship with Richard. Let me have a chat with him. So we're not back in Parliament for another week and a bit. I'll get in touch with him though and see if we can't set something up where you can present this and actually put it across, because you'll put it across in a far better way than I can.
Absolutely.
You know, I can. You know, he knows the things I used to do for a living. He knows that background, and I can talk to him about that. But as far as he's concerned, at that point, that's just another politician lobbying him, right, for something I want for my electorate. Whereas if it's you who've got all this information and can present it as an outside person, it'll carry a lot more weight.
Absolutely. So more than happy. I will also send through to you a package I did at the Residents at Risk Forum, which was a teleconference that we had a couple of weeks ago, where I put together, this is one component, just the other dispelling the myths and facts around LNG safety.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one question, and it relates to this? If we get a spill out here, you've got the gas cloud.
Yeah.
Now, the source of ignition, because that gas cloud can spread as far as out here in zone 3, somebody lights a match in that zone 3. That's all it takes.
So that's what we're saying with the lower flammability limit. If you're inside that 2.5 kilometres and someone lights a match or a
We're
car
all gone.
crashes or there's sparks, that's sufficient to ignite that vapour cloud.
And that's going to happen 100%
And then
your houses.
Exactly.
Yep.
It'll
That's
happen.
unavoidable.
It'll happen before it gets here.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, and the scale of these incidents is such that you've got one compartment on the LNG tanker ruptured. Okay, and so there's these new tankers. There's 5 or 6. Okay, on a tanker, there's equivalent of around 70 Hiroshima bombs worth of energy.
Yeah.
And so all this is determined on a single compartment release from the tanker.
That's a really important point to be making.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What, have you got a card?
I don't have a card.
No, that's okay.
I'm a resident here.
Yeah, no, that's right. I'll give you mine.
Thank you for people that have tuned in. We're going to go now, but yeah, this is for the No Gas No Terminal. I hope it gives you a bit of formative information, and you could always go to their website or Facebook page, No Gas No Terminal, and you can always, don't forget to like and follow us on Geelong TV News, so Geelong News TV, sorry, or you can go to our website www